2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Don't touch me. I'll beat your brains out.
You believe in miracles? Yes! I mean, you can take a knee and try a 56-yard field goal. This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Let's get ready to rumble.
Brother.
I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Naircross. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
What's up, Chad? My brother, Brian.
California! The big game over Stafford!
I think that the NFL knows what Randy Moss has done with marijuana, and I think the NFL knows what Randy Moss does with marijuana.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Good morning, and thank you for joining me.
Top of the morning, everybody. Those of you already on Facebook Live, good morning. The millions, obviously, listening around the world on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning to you, coming live, as always, from Hollywood, California. This is Tough Love. I'm Alistair Conrath. As usual, a lot to get to. Hello, brother. My brother's on Facebook Live, along with the rest of you. Obviously, LeBron, got back last night. The Cavs, did they get back on track? Did the Celtics, give them one? Obviously, Houston and Golden State are playing Game 3 today. NHL playoffs are going on. U.S. Supreme Court this week on Monday voted in favor of gambling legally in states, which is pretty impressive. So now it's upon the states to figure out, the gambling in their own, because basically for the last 8 years, Atlantic City said, why does Vegas get to and we don't? And so, they fought, spent a lot of money, and eventually got their way, which it just makes sense. How does that affect the sports world now? Apparently it's going to affect it really well. Per state, it just depends on how lenient they are when it comes to the betting, as to how much money they're going to make. But I will tell you right now, the betting that I do, the sports betting that I do, is offshore. So now, I'll be able to do betting here if I, in California, apparently, if I want to. So either way, that passed, and, some other rumblings and stuff like that. But first, I just want to touch on, something, another, what's it been, 2 months, since Parkland High School shooting. And then obviously there was one, unfortunately, I think it was on Wednesday morning, sorry, in Texas, and unfortunate that 2 months only has passed since we've had this talk, but again, I just feel the need to get it out there in the sense that, after Parkland, the people were up in arms about an AR-15 and let's ban AR-15s. What good are they? What need? There's no need for it. And so I'm obviously not happy anytime a shooting happens, but I will say I'm happy that the kid used a shotgun and a pistol. And the reason being is the argument no longer can just be, let's get rid of the AR-15s. Let's get rid of semi-automatic weapons. Him shooting it up with a shotgun and a pistol, there's no basis to say, hey, let's get rid of shotguns and pistols now, because that's obviously never going to happen. You might, if this kid used an AR-15, you might have had a little bit more momentum in getting rid of that. But the kid used a shotgun and a pistol, that will never go away, ever. So keep in mind, it's like drugs. Everybody, meth was a huge problem however many, years ago or whatever. And then they did their best to get rid of meth. And what happens? Heroin right now is at an all-time high in usage. So what happens is, even if you were to successfully get rid of AR-15s, people find different means to do, what they want to do. This kid, unfortunately, dad didn't lock up the guns, probably didn't think his kid is going to take guns to school and shoot it up. So yes, should he have it under lock and key? Yeah, probably a good idea. And as far as gun reform, Allison, I love you, babe. As far as gun reform, I'm all about it. What people don't understand is I'm pro-gun, but I'm also, to me, it's when I was in the Army, we always found it funny that we could go to war and die, but we couldn't buy a beer. 18 to die for your country, 21 to buy a beer. Whereas this, it's like 25 to rent a car, but 18 to get a gun. So bottom line, Dino's like, let's talk sports. I'll get to it, Dino. The bigger issue is us. Guns aren't the problem. We are the problem. What is going on in our society today that is making these things happen more often than they used to? That's the question that, for whatever reason, nobody wants to answer. It's kind of like texting while driving. Everybody knows it's as bad, if not worse, than drinking and driving. But for whatever reason, legislation is not being passed to put the punishment equal as drinking and driving if you get caught texting and driving. For whatever reason, these things people don't want to give up stuff. They don't, but bottom line is, we are the issue when it comes to the whole gun shooting them up, stuff like that. Social media is an issue. Bad parenting is an issue. All these, the depression of kids these days is at an all-time high, and it's because social media, and if they're not popular, which America now has become like a popularity contest, if you're not popular on social media and you're a kid, you get depressed. And how do you get attention? You shoot shit up. It's unfortunate, but what do we have to do? Why is nobody asking this question? What do we have to do as a society to change the culture so this stuff doesn't happen anymore? That's the question. It's not getting rid of guns. We see how good it worked with trying to, make drugs illegal. Pretty sure anybody can get any drug anytime you want. Easy. Criminals are going to get what they need. And be it drugs or guns or whatever, you're going to be able to get it. So what do we have to do as a society and a culture to stop these things from happening? That's the bigger question. You can take the easy way out and say it's the gun's fault, but guns don't shoot themselves. It's there's a bigger underlying problem that nobody wants to acknowledge, and that's the issue. So anyway, that's it's so sad. It's so sad that this stuff is happening. It's just so sad. But why is it happening? Why is it happening so much more now than it used to? I think the answer is so obvious. Nobody just wants to acknowledge it. So anyway, I'm so excited. I just got a message from my paintball group, my military buddies, and I are going to do some paintballing after this show. I'm stoked. But as far as sports are going on, let me just, before I get into the NBA and NHL playoffs, I want to just touch on something. I saw a tweet from Paul Allen, who's a radio dude, a K-fan in Minneapolis, and it was a response to an article about Karl Anthony Towns not being, necessarily happy in Minnesota. And it's just an interesting dynamic within the Timberwolves right now, because Tom Thibodeau, the coach, is also general manager, vice president, operations, whatever you want to call it. So he makes personnel decisions and he coaches, which is never a good thing. It's never a good thing. You can look in the history. It never works out, in a good way. You can't have both, even though, It makes sense. You buy the groceries if you want to cook. You let someone else buy the groceries. You just cook. But bottom line is, Jimmy Butler has already said he's open to leaving. And the reason being is Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, two superior talents, aren't happy with Tom Thibodeau. Well, Jimmy Butler loves Tom Thibodeau. Came in a trade, but he and Thibodeau get along really well. They cannot get to Wiggins and Towns. It's evident. I'm no person whisperer, but it's just real obvious that some aspects of basketball are effort, and Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins don't show the effort all the time, especially defensively. And if you respect your coach, you want to try. You want to put forth the effort. And Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, for Tom Thibodeau being such a defensive guy, he's not getting it done. Why? Because those two, and possibly a host of others, don't like him. And they don't want to try, especially hard for him. That makes Jimmy Butler frustrated because he tries. He's got intestinal fortitude. I have a feeling it wouldn't matter who it is. Same thing with Taj Gibson. They'll just try no matter who the coach is, but they don't listen to Thibodeau's irate banter. He's always yelling, blah, 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 where Wiggins and Towns lets that get to him. So bottom line, you could have a absolute windfall of people leaving the Timberwolves. Wiggins could get traded because he could just throw a fuss. Towns might not sign his contract because he's just, he doesn't like Tibbs. And Butler, because those two don't like Tibbs and aren't trying, and he sees that effort or lack thereof, he doesn't want to be a part of it. So the Timberwolves are in a jam. But I tell you right now, when it comes to superstar players like a Karl Anthony Towns, I've said for a while Andrew Wiggins should be traded. I don't think it's in him to give his all, no matter who it is. But I just believe Tibbs has to go before Karl Anthony goes. I don't know what that means for Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler. And if it was Jimmy Butler and Towns, get rid of Wiggins for something, you could get a lot, I think, for Andrew Wiggins. You think about it. I don't know if Phoenix would take the number one or give up the number one for Andrew Wiggins, but I think it's worth a phone call, right? Or somebody possibly in the top 10 do that. I don't know. I don't know what the dynamic is. All I know is the Timberwolves are in a sticky situation right now because they just made the playoffs, but you could tell they're not even remotely close to a Houston or a Golden State. So I think Tibbs needs to go. Maybe he stays on as the vice president of ops and brings in a coach that connects a little bit more. He's already got Jimmy Butler there as kind of the glue and to do, make sure people are doing what they need to do. But I think it's obvious. They hate Thibodeau and he probably needs to go. It's just you can't be that guy unless you're Belichick or Popovich anymore. Guys just don't respect it. Football especially is different than basketball. Sorry, there's many more just, I don't want to say prima donnas because there's quite a few in football, but it's just a different aspect. It's men in football. They can get a talking to, they can get yelled at. And at basketball, they're kind of bitches. So just to put it, in a way. So with that said, Cleveland, Boston play last night. It's funny in sports to me how there can be a narrative that can change so quickly. And so, after the two games in Boston, everybody basically, I didn't expect Cleveland to be swept. Let's say that. But the way they were playing, they looked like, oh, we've been there before. This isn't that important to us. So, we'll just, if we lose, we lose. Where Boston is not only down Kyrie and Gordon Hayward and up 2-0, but it just feels like the energy, the youth, the effort that Boston is getting from the players, the young kids, is just overwhelming to the Cavs, and almost like the Cavs could give a shit. Whatever, you know, and all of a sudden so bottom line is everybody thinks after Celtics are up 2-0, you know, what's wrong with the Cavs? It's LeBron and everybody else, and da-da-da, and then the Cavs, you know, beat them by 30 last night, and it changes the narrative. Moving forward is this, you know, the Celtics aren't the best road team, but with the youth, how are they going to respond to this? Terry Rozier said we needed to be beat down. We needed a whooping to kind of wake us up or bring us back to reality. You know, but is that the truth? What is going to happen game 4, which probably is like 3 months from now, because that's apparently what basketball does. They like have one game a week. It's just so stupid. You know, it's just so dumb. The Boston and they played on Tuesday. And then they didn't play again until yesterday. They could have had 2 games, Thursday and Saturday. The scheduling is just so stupid with TV contracts. It's just stupid. Don't get me started. It's just ridiculous. So Cleveland, you know, I mean, I would hate to see Cleveland and Golden State for a 4th straight year. I'm telling you, how stupid would that be? Especially with Golden State probably sweeping the Cavs. They'll probably sweep whoever, you know, be it the Cavs or the Celtics. You know, but at the same time, I would just rather see the Celtics just for a change. But we'll see how game 4 goes, because now, again, can Celtics rebound from this beatdown? Are they too young to mentally take what's going on? And, you know, or are they going to bounce back in game 4 and then go back to Boston and win? You know, I mean, that's, I guess, obviously what we're working with. Game 3 today, Houston, Golden State. I heard Colin Cowherd the other day talk about Golden State, and, you know, I mean, he showed a graphic. It's proof, too. You've got Golden State. They play 3 games really well, and then they just throw in the towel. They get killed. And then all of a sudden they win 3 straight, then they get killed. So, they lose game 2 in Houston, get pretty much drugged. But, they, you know, all they have to do now is win the remaining games at home. I feel as though when Golden State just wants to turn it on, they just do. And nobody is going to stop them. Nothing you can do is going to stop them. Everybody's talking about, oh, what's wrong with Steph Curry? What's wrong with Steph Curry? I mean, even if he doesn't go off today, which there's a very real possibility that a guy like him can catch fire. It's, you know, and all of a sudden throw up 30 in a blink of an eye, and everybody, again, the narrative changes, like, what happened to Steph? What's wrong with Steph? And then all of a sudden it's, oh, nothing's wrong with Steph. Back to normal. It's always, you know what I'm saying? It's, for Golden State, I can't see them losing. Houston obviously played a really nice game in game 2, but it did feel like Golden State just didn't throw in the towel, but didn't bring it. And, you know, Houston obviously took advantage, shot the ball really well, what they do. But here we go. You know, can they steal one? Can they reclaim home court advantage in, you know, in game 3 or game 4 for that fact? They have to win one in Golden State. They can't go back to Houston down 3-1. I mean, they could, you know, and then see what happens and pray they win game 5. And then, you know, have to win on the road again in Golden State. It just feels to me like it's just too much. Again, I think we've talked about this before, but Golden State didn't need Kevin Durant. They won a title without Kevin Durant. And then you add the arguably second best player in the league to a team that already won a championship. And what do you expect? You know, I mean, why should there be a team that beats them? They've got 4, you know, all-stars, 3 really, you know, 2 superstars. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are all-stars, and, you know, a bench that's really good. You know, so it's not unfair, but it kind of is. And I don't see Houston, as good a season as they had, doing anything. Although, it's funny, after game 2, did you notice what happened in game 2 that changed from the first 82 games of the season and their first, 2 series in the playoffs? Like, they passed. They just got rid of ISO. They didn't get rid of ISO, but they moved the ball. And it's funny because a team that can put up threes like Houston, I think they set a record this year. Why wouldn't they pass a lot to find the open man? If everybody can shoot a 3 really well, why not just throw it around? That's what they did in game 2. And I think it's funny because after game 2, they're like, oh, we didn't do anything different. Yeah, you did. I'm not even a big basketball guy. I mean, I followed it my whole life. But, just from the eye test, you can see if something's different. And Houston went from generally straight ISO ball that they've done the whole season, and then all of a sudden start tossing it around, and it worked really well. Golden State does it great because they've got a bunch of shooters. Why wouldn't you do that? Find the open shooter. Houston could do that. It's just James Harden is so uncoverable one-on-one that, I guess it makes sense to just give him the ball and see what he does. But, if they do what they did in game 2, I'm not saying they're going to win today or tomorrow. But, who knows? Who knows? It's all about finding the open guy. And, if you've got that many shooters on your team, find the open dude. That's it. Just find him. So that's today, like 5-ish or something like that. I want to quick throw in before I forget. It's on my head. That horse won the Preakness yesterday. Justify won in like a fog. You didn't even see the horses run. But he won, so he won the second leg of the Triple Crown. The Belmont, I'm trying to think of what the third race is. Obviously, I don't give a shit. But he has the opportunity to win the Triple Crown. What I found most amusing is on the way to the Preakness, I want to say it's in Maryland, Baltimore, or something like that. The horse had a police escort. The horse. It's a horse. Had a police escort. Like, could you imagine being in traffic and they're stopping traffic so a horse in a trailer could go? It's amazing. Somebody said, "Oh, it's an asset. It makes sense." It's like, are there highway thieves, bandits that are gonna steal a horse in broad daylight? No, it's a horse. What are we stopping traffic for? I don't understand. It's a goddamn horse. But I shouldn't be surprised. There was a wedding apparently yesterday that everybody had to see. Who cares? Who really cares? The royal wedding. What is wrong with people? Why do you care? Who cares? What? 53% divorce rate, people. It has to last, possibly, because they're just royalty. Well, not her, but, so it looks bad if they don't make it last. But if it's anything like America, where it's 53% divorce rate, she is American. Obviously, she just won the lottery and probably will do everything in her power to make that work. Keep working. I'd stop traffic for Woo. Dino, that's the only person I'd stop traffic for, actually, is my dog. But it's just funny. Our society is great. As for hockey playoffs going on right now, I'm telling you right now, I know basketball is more popular, but throw in their 1 game a week type of schedule and their, all boo-hoo and bitchy and pouty type of stuff. Hockey playoffs, me, I'm a football guy, but hockey playoffs are epic. I don't really follow it too much during the season because it's just a long season and it's during football season and March Madness, and I don't really, follow it too much. But NHL playoff hockey is a close second to NFL playoffs. I mean, it is, once that puck drops, it's just excitement from the puck drop. Basketball playoffs still aren't exciting until the fourth quarter. I don't know what basketball has to do, but at least hockey it's exciting. To me, it's really exciting. And I'm not the hockey guy. I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but the matchups that are going on right now, and again, the whole narrative in sports, if you follow it at all and have been watching the Capitals and this Tampa Bay Lightning series, Caps went up 2-0 in Tampa Bay. And the way Caps were playing, I mean, we're all thinking, oh, yeah, this could be a sweep because they're up 2-0 and they're going home for the next two. Oh, pump the brakes. Tampa Bay wins both of those in Washington and just won last night at Tampa. So they've won 3 straight. They go from being down 0-2 and talk about them maybe being swept to all of a sudden being up 3-2. And, on the cusp of going into the Stanley Cup Finals. And then on the other side, obviously, the best story is the Vegas Knights, obviously. They're playing Winnipeg Jets. And this has been just a really, really good series. I'm telling you, Winnipeg is their last series with the Predators, and now this series with the Golden Knights. Such good hockey. But Vegas is up 3-1. And I want to say that this Game 5 now is back in Winnipeg today. But I'm telling you, it's funny. Vegas is the Misfits. They call themselves the Misfits because they're the expansion team. For those of you who don't know, they're the expansion team. And, basically they were cast-offs from other NHL teams that didn't want them and threw them into, this pool for Vegas to choose if they want it or not, along with some draft picks. And now Vegas is here with a bunch of misfits. You cannot compare this, by the way, to the USA team of the 80s, Herb Brooks, the, Miracle on Ice team. This isn't college versus the, prolific Russian team. But this is a pretty impressive story. We're talking about a team that hadn't played together at all. All of a sudden, first season in as an exhibition team, they're 1 game away from the Stanley Cup. It's really cool stuff. Now, throw in that they've got, still arguably the best goalie in the league in Marc-Andre Fleury. And it's just like any sport. If your defense is good, if you don't let the opposition score, you're generally going to win. Be it whatever, basketball, football, baseball with a great pitcher. You can win 1-0 if your pitcher's standing on his head. And Fleury is standing on his head up through these playoffs. So it's going to be really, really fun to see. I had a take real quick. Why did I lose that? Vegas, Winnipeg. Oh, dang it. I can't remember what the hell I was just going to say. Oh, whatever. A couple minutes left on the show. I don't know what y'all got planned today, but it is Sunday. And like I said earlier, I'm going paintballing, which I've never done before. I'm excited to go paintballing. I've never done. I'm going with a group of my buddies. By the way, Dino, the rest of my military vets, I do something every Thursday. It's called MVP, Merging Vets and Players. Jay Glazer,
90 seconds.
Big guy at NFL, Fox Sports, big insider. Co-founded it with Nate Boyer, former Army Green Beret, and football NFLer. And they put this together because, a lot of people coming back from the military and combat need somebody to talk to. And, there's 20 suicides a day that happen with the military. And it's, a lot of kids coming home, guys coming home.
60 seconds.
And not having direction and needing somebody to talk to. And, if they don't, they do something bad to themselves. And so this is it's awesome. I do it every Thursday. I'm a shoulder for them to talk to and, or to lean on and chat with. And it makes me feel good. It really, really makes me feel good being there for these guys and so forth. And there's professional athletes there too, hence merging vets and players. Because, believe it or not, athletes, once they get out of the game, that's all they've ever known, really. And so they get out of the game and they don't have that locker room camaraderie anymore, and they're missing it. And, they can fall into that depression too. So it's just such a cool deal. And I'm going to play paintball with them this afternoon. It should be a really, really good time. So anyway,
10 seconds.
That's it. Tough love. Thanks for you guys joining in, and I'll try and do better next Sunday. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Tough love is out. Love you guys. Drive fast, take chances. Bye.